Hello everyone, myself Swati. Today we are going to discuss about basic human rights. In that, in our today's lecture, we are going to discuss related to India Charter of Freedom. Now, let us see about that. India Charter of Freedom. This Constituent Assembly declares its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent sovereign republic and to draw up for her future governance a constitution, wherein the territories that now comprise the British India, the territories that now form the Indian state, and such a other part of the India as our outside the British India and the state, as well as such a other territories as are willing to be constituted into the independent sovereign India shall be a union of them all, and wherein the said territories, wherever within their present boundaries or within such a order as may be determined by the Constituent Assembly, and thereafter according to the law of the Constitution shall possess and retain the states of the autonomous units together with power and the exercise and all the powers and the function of the government and administration, save and except such a power and function as are vested in or assigned to the union or as an inherent or implied in the union or resulting therefrom, and wherein all power and authority of the sovereign independent India. Its constituent parts and organs of the government are derived from the people, and wherein shall be guaranteed and secured to all the peoples of the India justice, social, economic and political equality of the status of opportunity and before the law, freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association and action, subject to law and the public morality, and wherein adequate safeguards shall be provided for minorities, backward and tribal areas, and depressed and other backward classes, and whereby shall be maintained the integrity of the territory of the republic and its sovereign rights on land, sea and air according to justice and the law of the civilized nations, and this ancient land attain its rightful and honored place in the world and make its full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind. The term Charter of Freedom is used to describe the three documents in early American history which are considered instrumental to its founding and philosophy. These documents are the United States Declaration of the Independence, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. While the term has not entered particularly common usage, the room at the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. that houses the three documents is called the Rotunda for the Charters of Freedom. The National Archives preserves and display the text in massive bronze framed bullet-proof, moisture-controlled sealed display cases in a rotunda-style room by day and in a multi-tone bomb-proof wallets by night. The Charters of the Freedom are flanked by a Barry Flankner, two grand murals, and one featuring the Thomas Jefferson Address and the Constitutional Congress, to the other centering on Thomas Madison's at the Constitutional Convention. Alongside the Charter of Freedom is a dual display of the formation of the Union, which is the documents related to the evolution of the US government from 1774 to 1791. These includes the Article of Association, which is related to 1774, along with Articles of Confederations, which is related to year 1778, Treaty of the Paris, it is related to 1783, and Washington First Inaugural Address, which is related to 1789. Then Constitution. At first there was a little interest in the parchment object itself. James Madison has custody of it as a Secretary of the State from 1801 to 9, but having left Washington DC, he had lost the track of it in the years leading to his death. A publisher had access to it in 1846 for a book on the Constitution. In 1883, historian J. Franklin Johnson found the parchment folded in a small thin box on the floor of a closet at the State War and Navy building. In 1894, the State Department sealed the Declaration and Constitution between the two glass plates and kept them in a safe. The two parchment documents were turned over to the Library of the Congress by exclusive order, and in 1924 the President College declared that the bronze and the marble shrine for a public display of the Constitution at the library headquarters. The parchments were laid over a moisture absorbing cellulose paper, vacuum sealed between a double panes of insulated plates, glass, and protected from light by a gelatin film. Although the building construction of the Archives building was completed in 1935, in December 1941 they were moved from the Library of the Congress and stored at the US Bullion Depository, Fort Knox, until September 1944. In 1951, following a study by the National Bureau of the Standards to protect from atmosphere, insects, mold, and light, the parchments were re-encased with a special light filter inherent in helium glass and a proper humidity. They were transferred to the National Archives in 1952. Since 1952, the Charters of Freedom have been displayed in the rotunda of the National Archives building. Visual inspection have been enhanced by electronic imaging. Changes in the case lead to the removal from their cases in July 2001. Prevention treatment by the conservators and the installment in new encasement for public display in September 2003. Original Utah. During its first century, the parchments copy of the constitution was not directly viewed for the public purpose, and most of the penned copies sent to the state are lost. But on inspection of one of the remaining copies held at the National Archives, there is an apparent spelling error in the original parchment's constitution in the so-called expert clause of Article number 1, section number 10 on page number 2, where the possessive pronoun it appears to be spelled with an apostrophe, turning it into its. However, the letter T and S are connected, and the mark interpreted as an apostrophe is somewhat inconspicuous. Different US government sources have transcribed this phrase with and without the apostrophe. The spelling pronouncedly is used in the list of signatories at the bottom of the page 4 of the original document. Elsewhere in article number 1, section number 2, the spelling that is usual today is used. However, in the late 18th century, the use of a single N to spell was common usage. The Liberty Bells inscriptions, for example, use a single N. World's largest democracy. On January 26th, a Sunday but also a national holiday, India celebration its 17th constitutional anniversary. The government hosted a grand military and cultural parade at Rajpath, a blued that links the stone arch of the India Gate to the Presidential Palace in India, New Delhi. Looking on in a saffron turban was the Prime Minister Narendra Modi of the Hindu Nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, with his guest of honor Jair Bolsonaro. The President of Brazil had been saluted by the numerous democratic world leaders, but here he was standing in the same place as earlier guests of the honor such as Nelson Mandela and Barack Obama. Human rights and debates in the Constituent Assembly. What are the human rights and debates in the Constituent Assembly? Just we are going to see here. A written guarantees of the fundamental rights in the Constitution of India. We saying a Constituent Assembly for framing the Constitution of India was recognized by the Cabinet Mission in 1946. To this end, the recommendation was made to set up an advisory committee for reporting to the Assembly on fundamental rights. As per the suggestions of the Cabinet Mission plan, the Constituent Assembly voted to form the advisory committee on 24th of January 1947. Sardar Patel was its chairman. The committee was to report to the Assembly on the list of fundamental rights, the clauses for the protection of the minorities, etc. The subcommittee on fundamental rights with Acharya Kripalani as the chairman was one of the subcommittees set up by the advisory committee. This subcommittee met for the first time on 24th of February 1947 to discuss the drafted list of the right prepared by B. N. Rao, K. T. Shah, K. M. Munshi, Dr. B. R. Ambedkar, Harman Singh and the Congress Expert Committee, as well as the miscellaneous notes and memoranda on various aspects of right. These lists were lengthy and detailed, as they were accompanied by explanatory memoranda and the content of both the negative as well as positive rights taken from different sources from both within the country and outside. Balancing the individual liberty with a social control, the former for fulfilling the individual personality and the latter for the peace and stability of society was a very tricky problem, despite disagreement on technique. There was a hardly any difference on principles. So it was decided that the fundamental rights should be justiciable, the right to freedom, provisions abolishing the untouchability, protection against double jeopardy, ex post facto laws, then equality before the law, the right to freely practice the religions, and the protection of minorities were all adopted. The English device of a prerogative writs or directions in the form of writs was the legal method which was included within the rights to secure them. Right to the constitutional remedies was also adopted in 1989. Though a few amendments were accepted, the contents of the right and the basic principle remained intact. The rights were considered to be fundamental and enforceable by the courts, but they could not be absolute. They could be limited by attaching the provision to the particular right and by providing for the right to be suspended in certain circumstances, individual liberty, like right to equality, basic freedom, etc., were passed within a certain limitations. 7 fundamental rights had close resemblance with human rights, enshrined in a various international human rights documents. Members like K.M. Munshi, Ambedkar and K.T. Shah were in a favor of a more vigorous social programming, so they insisted on a specified time limit within which all the directive principles must be made justiciable. During the debate on the draft constitution, which is held in November-December 1948, there were two types of opinions: that the directive did not go far enough towards establishing a socialist state, and that they should have placed gather emphasis on a certain institution and principle central to Indian practice and to Hindu thought, particularly those glorified by a Gandhi's teaching. The amendments for the development of the village life and economy and the industries a government responsibility, making it incumbent upon the government to prevent the to improve the method of animal husbandry and the agriculture, calling for the nationalization of for various industries and evident for those opinions. However, most of these amendments were voted down or withdrawn by their initiators. Consequently, the directive principle of the state policy were adopted as a part of a 4 of the Indian Constitution by the Assembly. The fundamental human rights in the sense of the civil liberties with their modern attribute and the overtone are a development more or less parallel to the growth of constitutional government and parliamentary institution from the time of British rule in India. The impetus of their development obviously came out of the resistance to the foreign rule when the British resorted to arbitrary acts such as brutal assaults on unarmed poor Indian nationalist movement, and the birth of the Indian National Congress were the direct result. The freedom movement was largely directed against the racial discrimination and to securing the basic human rights for all the people, irrespective of race, color, creed, gender, place of birth, in the matter of access to public places, offices, and services. The history of national struggle for basic human rights can be tracked back to the formation of Indian National Congress, which endeavored to formulate the spectrum of human rights back in 1895 when an unknown author drafted the Constitution of India Bill. However, the first formal document came into existence in 1928 with the report of the Motilal Nehru, the rights and emerged by the Motilal Nehru reports: pre-elementary education, living wages, protection of the motherhood, welfare of the children were a prosecutors of the fundamental rights and directive principle of the state policy, which were enhanced in a Indian constitution having 22 years later. Most important pronouncement on human rights came in the page of the Objective Revolution moved by Jawaharlal Nehru in 1946. In the Objective Resolution, it was plugged to draw up a constitution for the country wherein shall be guaranteed and secured to all the country wherein adequate safeguards would be provided for the minorities, backwards and tribal areas are depressed and other classes. The resolution also reflected the annexation of the founding fathers to incorporate and implement the basic principle encountered in the Universal Declaration of the Human Right, that is a UDHR. The Assembly incorporated in the Constitution of the India the substances of the most of these rights. The preamble and human rights. In that, the preamble to the Constitution in of the supreme importance, and the Constitution should be read and interpreted in the light of the grand and noble vision expressed in the preamble. The preamble of the Constitution declares, "We, the people of India, having the solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of the thoughts, expression, belief, faith, and worships, equality of the status and of the opportunity, and to promote among them all fortunity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation." 6. In a short, the preamble consistently sets our visionaries of the human rights, which represents the aspirations of the people who have established the Constitution. Fundamental rights and human rights. A unique feature of the Indian Constitution is that a large part of the human rights are named as a fundamental right? Then this is the basic difference in between fundamental right and human rights. And the right to be enforced of fundamental rights itself has been made a fundamental right. The fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution consist the Magna Carta of the individual liberty of human rights. The fundamental rights under article number 14 to 31 of the Constitution provide individual rights based on the right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, right to cultural and educational right, which is decided in 1986. These are the negative rights which are made enforceable against the state if violated. These rights can be summed up in different categories. Okay, thank you.